he makes another attempt. And this time, his parents don't think he'll survive. Jake says, I was in a full-blown psychotic episode. Now, Michael is stitched up and is discharged within a day or so, but Jake, he stays in the hospital for the next 4 days. And one of his first stops when he's released is to the courtroom to appear before a judge. He's charged with second-degree murder. His bail is set at $200,000. He meets it, and in the meantime, he heads to his parents' house in Miami to stay with them. But here's the thing. It takes Jacob weeks to finally tell people, I didn't come up with the idea to kill Michael. Pamela told me. And when he starts telling people this, they're like, you were manipulated. And he's like, okay. He starts to get his mind around it. He starts to say, wait, yeah, I actually think I didn't want to do this. Pamela on the other end is like, no way. I did not ask him to do this. I would never ask him to do something like this. Plus, there are no texts or emails or any evidence of conversations about it. So it's a bit hard to prove that Jake isn't lying. The only real piece of evidence at first tying her to the crime is the fact that there was that hand-drawn map. And she's like, Calder's daycare is also inside that building. Jake was supposed to pick him up. But Michael, who Jake tried to tells police, I think Jake's actually pretty innocent in this, and this was 100% Pamela who manipulated him into doing this. So he takes Jake's side. It wasn't just custody of Calder that Pamela and Michael were actually fighting. In fact, they had just recently reached a custody agreement in court, one that ironed out visitation rights, child support payments, and a life insurance policy. Turns out, part of the deal was for Michael to take out a $1.5 million life insurance policy for himself and that his son would be the beneficiary. But 3 days before the attack, Michael actually changed the paperwork to say in the case of his Pamela would be the trustee who would then manage the payout for Calder until he's 18. So when police go to Jake and they're like, did you know about this? No, I had no idea there was a life insurance policy. So hearing this, the court actually grants Michael Wise full custody of Calder. And they tell Pamela, you are not allowed to make contact with Calder for the next 5 years. But here's what's odd. Even though the family court thinks Pamela is a danger to society, the police don't. At least not yet. They don't charge her with any crime. She goes on living her life, albeit not with Calder. And meanwhile, Jake is bouncing from one treatment center to another, trying to contend with his drug and alcohol addictions as well as his mental health. At one point while awaiting trial, he makes another suicide attempt. And this time, his parents don't think he'll survive. He actually is in a coma for several days. But he pulls out of it, and 3.5 years after the attack, in March of 2016, he finally makes it to the courtroom.